to the Buddhist Temple of Toledo, please have a seat and turn to page 2 in your liturgy book. We'll start with the Gata of Atonement. Gata of Atonement, all evil karma ever committed by me, since Kaya 3 refuges, Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge in Buddha. I take refuge Dharma. I take refuge in Sangha. I take refuge in Sangha. The 5 remembrances. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature of change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. Mahayana Refuge. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. In my heart, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. May I liberate suffering beings and bring them to great joy. May the compassionate spirit of love grow within me, that I may actualize the great way. Invocation. I give thanks for the guidance of my teachers, for the lineage of teachers before them. I give thanks and offerings for their devoted practice of generosity, moral discipline, patience, joyful effort, concentration, wisdom, skillful means, unshakable vow, spiritual powers, and awakened awareness for my benefit. May their years of life be lengthened, and may their vows be completely realized. 7 practices of the Bodhisattva. I bow down in body, speech, and mind. I offer the best I have to give, both real and imagined, to fill the space between us. I regret and purify all transgressions. I rejoice in all virtues. I request you to remain until total enlightenment. I request wise and compassionate guidance. I dedicate my merit for the sake of all beings. Generating love and compassion. May all sentient beings be free from clinging and hatred, being close to some and distant from others. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will free them from clinging and hatred. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them happiness and the causes of happiness. Bless me to accomplish this. May all sentient beings have the joy that has never known suffering. May they be free from clinging, hatred, jealousy, miserliness, doubt, pride, wrong view, ignorance, and dualistic thoughts. How wonderful it would be. May this be accomplished. I will bring them to this state. Bless me to accomplish this. Our reading for today is Selected Readings Instructions for the Zazen of Silent Illumination, number 2. Accord and respond without laboring, and accomplish without hindrance. Everywhere turn around freely, not following conditions, not falling into classifications. Facing everything, let go and attain stability. Stay with that just as that. Stay with this just as this. That and this are mixed together with no discriminations as to their places. So it is said that the earth lifts up the mountain without knowing the mountain's stark steepness. A rock contains jade without knowing the jade's flawlessness. This is how to truly leave home, how home leaving must be enacted. Now please stand for the Heart Sutra on page 4 of your liturgy book. Great Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, practicing deep Prajna Paramita, clearly saw that all 5 skandhas are empty, transforming all suffering and distress. Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness. Emptiness no other than form. Form is exactly emptiness. Emptiness exactly form. Sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness are also like this. Shariputra, all things are essentially empty, not born, not destroyed, not stained, not pure, without loss, without gain. Therefore in emptiness there is no form, no sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no color, sound, smell, taste, touch, object of thought, no seeing, and so on to no thinking, no attainment, since there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva lives by Prajnaparamita, with no hindrance in the mind, no hindrance, and therefore no fear, far beyond delusive thinking. Right here is nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future live by Prajnaparamita, attaining Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Therefore know that Prajnaparamita is the great sacred mantra, the great vivid mantra, the unsurpassed mantra, the supreme mantra, which completely removes all suffering. This is truth, not mere formality. Therefore set forth the Prajnaparamita mantra. Set forth this mantra and proclaim Gate Gate Para Gate Parsam Gate Bodhi Swaha Gate Gate Para Gate Parsam Gate Bodhi Swaha Gate Gate Para Gate Parsam Gate Bodhi Swaha. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now. Whenever these devoted invocations are sent forth, they are perceived and subtly answered. We dedicate their merits to all members of our human family throughout space and time. We especially dedicate their merits to those who suffer as a result of calamity, cruelty, and war. We especially dedicate this offering to those whose names we hold in the silence of our hearts, as well as those whose names we now voice aloud. May we live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma, and may we realize the Buddha way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, Bodhisattva, Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Mahaprajna Paramita. Please prepare for Zazen. We will now do Kinhin, walking meditation. At the sound of the clappers, the first and third rows will turn to their right, and second and fourth rows will turn to their left. We'll start at a slow pace, and when the clappers sound again, speed it up to a regular walking pace. Follow the person in front of you, and if anyone notices that other friends need help, please position yourselves accordingly. Now recite the Sangha Covenant, which can be found on page 8 of the liturgy book. We, the Daishin Kokuji Sangha, with respect for the worth and dignity of each person, with wonder at the wisdom and compassion we seek to cultivate by practice, and with deep gratitude for the teachers of this lineage and our connection to one another, covenant to support each other by upholding the precepts of doing no harm, practicing good, and actualizing good for others. Please be seated. Gata on opening the sutra. The Dharma incomparably profound and infinitely subtle is rarely encountered even in millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, receive and maintain it. May we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. Please sit comfortably and in such a way that we can see each other. Accord and respond without laboring, and accomplish without hindrance. Everywhere, turn around freely, not following conditions and not falling into classifications. Facing everything, let go, and attain stability. Stay with that, just as that. Stay with this, just as this. That and this are mixed together with no discrimination as to their place. So it is said that the earth lifts up the mountain without knowing the mountain's stark steepness. A rock contains precious jade without knowing the jade's flawlessness. This is how to truly leave home, how home leaving must be enacted. This reading from Hongji's instructions, Zazen for Silent Illumination, is a perfect pointer to the way of practicing in our life. I hope that that doesn't sound too abstract. I know for me it did for a long time. It sounded like really pretty words from some other land. Until I began to actually encounter practice in my life, in daily life. And it's not remote and it's not distant. So for example, when we're waiting, when will the bell ever ring? When we're sitting in meditation, simply notice what's rising and acknowledge that as that and practice. And then before you know it, it's time to go for a little walk, right? And so feel the air current against your skin on your face as you move through the zendo. Feel the weight of your feet on the floor and the earth rising up to meet you. And then let go, because now it's time to recite. And what page and what is this we're doing? And these words, what about them? And then suddenly, time to sit again. So exactly and precisely right there is this attain stability by letting go. And this is a very simple example. This is a very safe, simple example. We are in the temple, everything is arranged, pretty much just so that we can practice. What about when life, the boomerang comes back at you and hits you? Well, one of those occurred to myself some decades ago now, I guess, when we were practicing and we had our little girl, we had our daughter. And suddenly, to be able to participate in sesshin became exponentially more difficult. Not only was it all the way in upstate New York, but we have an infant. A 1-year-old, what do you do? Very, very difficult, right? And we had to shift. We had to make a change. And it was very difficult for me because if you know me, I'm a pretty loyal kind of person, like this is how we do things, and okay, And yet it clearly wasn't fitting our family anymore. And that was very stressful for me. And then Myotai Sensei began teaching. And so she took the transmission, the awakening that was affirmed, and she began to teach in a way that was more accessible. And I trusted her. And so I began to shift. It was very difficult because I had a lot of associations with a certain place and a certain form and a certain community and everything. And with no bad feelings or any ill will, simply a shift needed to occur. And so Myotai Sensei, when she started teaching, she did a very interesting thing which went right up my yin-yang, to be frank about it. I mean, she said, oh, we're not going to do the traditional koans. I'm like, what? I want to complete my training. What are you talking about? We're not going to do the koan. This is how this works. She's like, oh, they're icky. I'm like, okay, Sensei, what are we going to do? I'll think of something. And so she crafted Rengetsu koan. Very interesting. So she had these Rengetsu koan that she created. And I'd like to share one with you tonight, this morning, whenever this time, right now. Right? I think I said this night because my mind was kind of tasting the breeze here, and I remember once doing Doksan with her, and it was twilight, and the space where we were, it would be like if we had Doksan out on the porch here, and there was this very much a breeze and the same key hitting the back of my brain, and there she is, Very powerful, these things. Anyway, let me share the case with you. This is pretty cool. So this is the third Rengetsu koan. It's particularly apt for the moment. Reflection. Rengetsu moved to the Osakai district of Kyoto and learned how to make shiragaraki-style pottery, taking the clay from the hills and Kagura. Her pottery, inscribed with her poems and paintings, became so immensely popular that she began moving from place to place to avoid the crush of customers. Keeping her few possessions neatly stored in a few boxes, ready to change her residence at a moment's notice. In 1 year alone, she moved some 13 times. Her acute sense of life's impermanence also kept her from settling too firmly anywhere. She once likened herself to, quote, a drifting cloud blown by a fierce wind. Rengetsu's verse. No place at the inn, but I find consolation sleeping beneath the hazy moon and the cherry blossoms. Last week, Doan Osho gave some history about Rengetsu, and suffice it to say here that this early 19th century woman had much loss and death in her life. Children, parents, mentors. And at this time in her life, according and responding without laboring and accomplishing without hindrance is perfectly expressed. This business of meeting the moment and responding to the imperative of your actual life, the way it actually is, not always competing with some fantasized version of yourself or some fictionalized version of what the world is supposed to be, right? How do we actually contact what is true, what is authentic in our actual experience, and then meet that well? Now, I guarantee you, when Rengetsu was a mother and her children needed raising, she didn't float around moving 13 times in a year. She had kids to raise. So at that time, in that moment, in that expression, which is no less than this expression, her freedom, that cloud blown by a fierce wind, expressed as rootedness, as root vegetable energy, as nurturing energy. And then when the situation changed, so did her expression change. Sometimes we can get very fixated on the external expressions and think that that's it. You know, the teacher talks like this or does like that, so that's what it has to be. And of course, this is impossible. This won't work. It's the inside out. What is the great freedom right now? Well, it's opening the windows a little bit more and letting some of that spring breeze actually come in. Oh, what was it a few months ago? It's keep them closed and get the heaters on because it's cold out there. Which one is correct in the Dharma? Is it that we should always make it be spring and then we can finally be happy? Or is it that we should always make it cold out so we can have the heater running and then it's correct? Obviously, the correct, quote unquote, is to meet the imperative of the moment you're in. Exactly so. So when the bell rings, the robe goes on. And when the period's over, then the robe comes off and your street clothes happen. And leave your vestments aside now. Know when to take them up, know when to set them down. Know how to meet formal moments of practice impeccably and then know how to completely drop them impeccably. For some reason, this is very difficult for us. we find the key we like to play in, and we want to put every tune in that key. But not every tune sounds good in that key. You know? No place at the inn. But I find consolation sleeping beneath the hazy moon and the cherry blossoms. Now, the hazy moon in Dharma, coming from a classical Chinese poetic expression, is kind of pointing to awakening, enlightened mind. But the moon is, in this depiction, it's hazy. There's always a little bit of mist there. It's not everything perfectly clear. It's a hazy moon. Okay. And this is this business in our reading where it says, so it is that the earth lifts up the mountain without knowing the mountain's stark steepness. It's just earthing. It doesn't have to know it all. It doesn't have to have it all figured out. In fact, it doesn't. And it's all the more perfect because of it. When Rengetsu was raising her children, she didn't have it all planned out that at a certain age she would take up pottery. No. And when her pottery became so successful, I don't think she had the plan to run or leave until it became imperative that actually this was getting in the way of her expression. And so she trusted herself. And in a way that makes no sense to contemporary branded marketing mind, the mind of ownership and profit, which has its place. But what do you mean you're leaving to avoid the crush of customers? You want the crush of customers. Have them come with their coin. And can we get some apprentices to make more of these pots? Could you just sort of sign, could we use your name as a brand and just have other people make them? We could really, He's like, no. And as a matter of fact, I'm gone. That might be very hard for some people to understand. It makes sense to me. Makes a lot of sense to me. Because she's not doing the pottery because of some other thing. She's just expressing this moment in a way that her intuition and her intelligence has guided her to do. That's plenty. What else would you ever need? The drifting cloud blown by a fierce wind has no plan other than authenticity. This is what's reliable. A rock contains jade without knowing the jade's flawlessness. So this is what you see when you look at expressions of very, very ripe and mature human Buddhas, those that have completed their training and gone quite beyond it, honestly. They become more and more everyday, more and more ordinary. No stink of anything holy or coerced. Now that has been let go. Mind you, they went through it. They know how to be in that moment too, impeccably, but not stuck. So then we see the 10th oxherding picture, this jovial person moving through the village, giving candy to the kids and enjoying a bit of wine and enlightening everyone that they see. And they're unseeable unless you've seen it yourself. When two of those type meet each other on the road, they chuckle and they acknowledge. Maybe they play a little bit. They wish each other well. They can see. The question is, can you? Can we? Accord and respond without laboring. and accomplish without hindrance. What does it mean to accomplish without hindrance? You know, there's some of us that think the more we display our extreme efforts to accomplish and overcome hindrance, the more virtuous we are, the more we deserve our life or approval or something. Can't look too easy. If it looks easy, then I'm not earning it. Let's make some drama here so I can feel alive. No, accomplish without hindrance. Everywhere, turn freely. Not following conditions, not falling into classifications. You know, it's a very difficult thing. Like right now, many people are very, very aware of identity. And there's a healthy way to be very aware of identity and how they intersect and all of this. But it becomes very difficult in Zen training because you must drop identity altogether, at least at times. You must be no one in particular when you sit, just sitting. Be no one in particular when feeling the wind on your face, just wind and face. And then when your child says, Mom, then be particular, be Mom, if that's your beautiful karma. That time, yes. But don't hold on to it. Rengetsu had to let go of everything. All of us will, one way or another. Facing everything completely and honestly. Let go. Not face everything and grab it and control it and make it be the way you know it needs to be. Not so much. Face everything, let go, and then you may attain authentic stability. Real stability, like a huge, huge tree in a massive wind. That kind of stability. It's not rigid, it's not sitting there fighting the wind. You know, it's okay, it flows. That's the immovable tree. Right? What does that look like for you? You're not a tree, unless you are. Stay with that just as that. Stay with this just as this. That and this are mixed together with no discrimination as to their places. So it is said that the earth lifts up the mountain without knowing the mountain's stark steepness. A rock contains jade without knowing the jade's flawlessness. The practitioner of Zen manifests the Buddha Dharma thoroughly without knowing a thing about it. This is how to truly be free, exactly where you are. Rengetsu moved to the Osaki district of Kyoto and learned how to make shiragakure-style pottery, taking the clay from the hills in Kagura. Perfect. What a beautiful expression. Her pottery, inscribed with her poems and paintings, became so immensely popular that she began moving from place to place to avoid the crush of customers. Smart move. Keeping her few possessions neatly stored in just a few boxes, ready to change her residence at a moment's notice, in 1 year alone, she moved some 13 times. How many times have you moved in the last hour? How many lives have you lived this past week? Countless, countless. Her acute sense of life's impermanence also kept her from settling too firmly anywhere. What a gift to really feel impermanence, to really taste it and not turn away. She once likened herself to a drifting cloud blown by a fierce wind. Yeah, I can still feel that fierce wind today. No place at the inn, she writes, but I find consolation sleeping beneath the hazy moon, and the cherry blossoms. But Ringetsu had her turn. Now it's yours. What do you say? How will you express it?
We'll finish with the Bodhisattva vows on page 8 of the liturgy book. Beings are numberless, I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable, I vow to embody it. Beings are numberless, I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable, I vow to embody it. Beings are numberless, I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable, I vow to embody Thank you again so much for being here today. Are there any announcements?
My name's Aka. I'm the registrar for the Guardian Council in Session. Just a friendly reminder that basically today, tomorrow is the very last day to register for Session. If you haven't done that, please do so because we're planning on having it be residential. So there should be bunk beds and all that good stuff. So please get on the registration if you plan to attend. If you have never attended Session and you are interested, it's probably too late this month because there's a process, but please get with me or Zuise and we'd be happy to get you started next month for sure. I've spoken.
So speaking of Shushin and bunk beds, we have 21 mattresses and boxes on beds that need to be taken out and whatever happens to them. They weigh 40 pounds each. So if you feel you're able-bodied and could help with that if you have any time today or during the week, we'd like to get them aired out before they're actually used next weekend.
My name's Son, and today in the liturgy books there was an insert. You're free to take that home with you as a Dharma souvenir. Put it on your fridge. Live with it next week. Read it.
Any further announcements? Going once? Please restore the Zendo.
Can I see the liturgy team for 1 second? 1 second. This won't take long. Huh?